let me quickly run through the agenda for today's session. We'll talk about 4 things today. First, we talk about optimizing individual URLs for better user experience. So we're going to learn how to set up the URL monitoring in Applications Manager, how to monitor the availability of these URLs, how to monitor the response time and get notified when it takes too much of time to respond or to get that URL connected, and how to get notified about a response code, error code, and how to monitor the page sizes of these web pages that we are adding. And then that is not enough. Even this talks only about monitoring the individual URL, and we can use tools like synthetic transaction monitoring, so we can understand the URL sequence. So when any user logs into your website and take the path to understand where he is clicking on the first link and which page he is navigating to, what are the links that he is accessing, what he is going through. So you wanted to track the order of the web pages that any user visits your web page is going through, then you can use synthetic transaction monitoring to have the URL sequence added and monitor multiple web pages to understand. So in case if he's using a shopping website and doing a procedure to buy a product and complete the payment, and he have some issue during the payment, and we can actually using this URL sequence, we can understand what is wrong and what is whether the user is stuck up on the payment page or in the login page. We can understand that. And then measuring customer experience. So not only monitoring the URL sequence will help us, but we also need to ensure how the application behaving for the end user. So we can use tools like real browser monitoring and Applications Manager to understand how the application is behaving for the end user. So we can actually record and play this session. So how a user will behave when he visits a website. So what are the actions that he will do? What are the mouse actions he will do? What are the keyboard actions? So whether he's trying to create an account, he's typing a username, password, or he's trying to provide his email address, contact number, and clicking on create an account. So all these need to be tracked, and if something is not working, we can understand how the application is responding when he clicks on submit, whether that action was completed or what exactly happens. We can capture the screenshots, and we can capture the components, web page components, what is the content of CSS, what is the content of HTML codes used, what is the size of that, how to fine tune that. We'll discuss about all these things in the third section of this topic. And then finally, we talk about detecting unauthorized changes via website content monitoring. So we have something called website content monitoring in Applications Manager. So we are going to monitor the content pages to understand any changes that are going through in the web pages. So if any static pages you do not want any changes to go through that website, you can actually use this tool to ensure that nothing is modified in that web page, and if any is done, you can overwrite the original content. Or you wanted to get notified about the defacements happening in text, image, or the JavaScript, you can use that as well. So we are going to talk all these 4 things now. Going forward, I'll be giving you inputs on the slides, and I'll switch to product demo to show you how it actually works. So with that, let's begin our topic today on optimizing individual URLs for better user experience. So you can monitor any web page URL in Applications Manager, whether it is available in the local internal network or whether it is hosted on the internet. You can monitor that, whether it is a HTTP URL or whether it is an HTTPS URL, you can still monitor that. And if your URL is going through a proxy server and it requires any authentication, then we are going to see how to enable these authentication and monitor these URLs. So I'll show you how you can define threshold for response time, so that when it deviates from the specified response time, you're notified about the problem, and how you can match a content. So if you wanted to make sure that a specific string is always present in that web page, and if it goes missing and you want that to be notified, and you can do that as well. And so slow loading page. So when too many number of requests is going to a web page, so when your business grows, your web page load increases and too much of people accessing it at the same time, and you need to correlate this and ensure that you have enough hardware configurations. You have to fine tune that with the workload activity, so that it it uses that information to provide the web page that is ensuring that the web page is loading faster. And then you also need to track if any error codes, if somebody is trying to accessing it, maybe too many people accessing at the same time, and few of them were able to get the web page loaded in different locations, and some of them were not able to get the page loaded successfully, and they see some 400, 404 or 500 internal server error. And if anyone happen to see this error and you want that to be notified immediately, then you can configure these error codes to be notified in Applications Manager. So let me quickly jump into the product and show you how you can set up a URL monitoring in Applications Manager. So this is the Applications Manager monitors page. So if you wanted to know the depth of what Applications Manager is capable of, our focus for today is going to be only end user monitoring, but Applications Manager can do a lot. So you can just go through this monitor page to understand what Applications Manager is capable of. So now I'm going to show you how you can add a URL monitor in Applications Manager. So if you click on Add Monitor, and under the Web Server or Services section, you can actually use this HTTP URL, and you can provide the display name of the URL, and then you can provide the exact URL, whether it is HTTPS or HTTP. And then you can provide the polling interval, the timeout, and you can do the HTTP configurations. So you can provide the form submission method, whether it is get or post. In case if it uses the post method, then you have to provide the payload type, whether it is a form or text or XML or JSON. Then if these URLs uses any basic or NTLM authentication to connect with that URL, then you need to provide the specific username and password for those authentication. And as I said, you want to be notified about the error codes. So if you want all the error codes about 200 to be notified, you can just use this. Or you just want 404 error to be notified, you can use this equal to option to do that. And if this particular error code is detected, you wanted to retry and check if that happens again. So you can use this option to retry it immediately. And you wanted to provide a custom HTTPS header name and value, you can do that. If it uses any SSL certificate, then you can provide the certificate version, and you can upload the client certificate and then provide the password. And as I said, you can do the content check. So if you wanted to look for certain string, whether it is available in that web page or not, you can use this should contain option. Or if any particular errors that you do not want to see, it is still available on the website and you want that to be notified and solve that problem, you can use that in the should not contain option. And then you can associate this URL to any monitor group, or you can just go ahead and add that URL. So once this is added, let me go ahead and show you where you can see this information. Under the monitors page, under the web server or services section, you have HTTP URL. So once you have added all the website URLs, this is where it will be available. And on the availability page, you track down to see the availability for the last 24 hours, and you can also pull out the historical data for last 30 days. You wanted to use a customized time, you can go to this window, provide a custom PDF, or you wanted to see this for last 30 days or last 1 year, you can just go ahead and view the report. And when you scroll down, you see the response time. So what is the response time? What is the average response time for this URL? What is the current response time? And you wanted to configure an alarm when it deviates from a specified response time. So you can just go ahead and see if any threshold profile available for response time and see if that works for you, and you can match it, or you can just edit and update it. And then you can also see the response time split up. So you can actually know what is the DNS time contribution, what is the connection time, what is the first byte, last byte time. And then you can also monitor the web page sizes. So if you do not want the web page to grow, then you can ensure that it doesn't grow beyond 261 bytes. Or if in the later, probably after a 6 month or after a 1 year, you're revamping the website and there are a few changes happening, and you do not, if you wanted to ensure that it doesn't grow beyond 500 bytes, then you can make sure that the page is not violating that. So you can create a threshold profile, see if any available threshold profile is there to associate it, or you just add a new one and ensure that it is not crossing the 500 bytes sizes, so that you can ensure the health of the server and the availability and the load time, everything is working fine for that website. So this is all about monitoring the individual URL. And if you have any questions, feel free to post it in the webinar chat panel. And with that, I would like to move on to the next section. So leveraging synthetic transaction monitoring. So why synthetic transaction monitoring is required? So we discussed about monitoring the individual URL, and now we are going to talk about the URL sequence. So when a user logs into your shopping website and he looks in for offered products and the products that are an offer price, and then he go ahead and select the products that he wants, and then he add that to the cart and proceed with the payment. So if this is what the sequence that I wanted to monitor in Applications Manager, and I do not want the user to have any problem when he's trying to do this, and in case if any error happens in a specific page that he is navigating to, I can actually understand which page is taking too much of time to respond. And in order to create a sequence monitor for the URLs, there is one prerequisite. You have to make sure that you install the web transaction recorder in Applications Manager, and then you can record the URL sequence. So you can understand how what is the page navigation that the user will do, and you wanted to monitor that. You have to record that, and then you can track the order of the web pages visited. So here is a quick example. So this is one example of what I see every day in my organization. So when any employee checks into the office, the first thing they do is they try to get access to the email. They try to log into the mail site, our own mail application, Zoho Mail, and then they do the sign in, and they use the login ID, they provide the password and login, and then it takes them to the 100 email pages. They see all the work items to be worked for that particular day, and then they log out. So I want this particular sequence to be tracked in my Applications Manager. So how do I do that? Let me quickly show you how you can record this URL sequence monitor. As I said, you have to make sure that you have the web transaction recorder. So I'll show you where you can download this. You just hit on Add Monitor, and under the Web Server or Services section, you have HTTP URL sequence. You click on this and you see this download web transaction recorder. If you do not have one, you can go ahead and download it, and you can. It may not be important that it need to be installed on the same server where Applications Manager is installed. You can download the package in any machine that you want. You can go ahead and download this, and so based on your operating system, you can download the package. And I'm not going to show you how to install all these things. It's very straightforward, so you can just go through the instructions available in the website. In case if you have any questions, you can always write to us. And now let me show you. I've already downloaded the web transaction recorder here. So once you download and install the web transaction recorder, and once you run the application, this is how you see the page. And the first thing that you need to do is connect this particular web transaction recorder with Applications Manager. So you need to provide the applications manager host name. In my case, it's localhost. I've installed this the transaction recorder in the localhost. So I'm just providing the localhost and the SSL port number. So once this is done.
All right. So we were on the web transaction recording. So now we have just connected the applications manager host name, and now we provide the login credentials. So admin is the login credentials for applications manager. So once I do that, I click on login, and we can do two recordings here. One is for URL sequence monitoring, and the other one is for create the real browser monitoring. We'll talk about this after we complete this. So now I'll show you how you can create a URL sequence monitor. So once you click on it, you just need to provide the URL that you need to monitor. Let me say I wanted to monitor manageengine.com website. So it loads here, and then the user goes to solution page, and under the network and server management, he clicks on the web page, and again he clicks on desktop and mobile, and so this, let's assume that this is the sequence that I wanted to track. So I click on the preview sequence. I provide manage engine, and then I don't want to enable the real browser monitoring for this, so I just disabled it, and I click next. And you see that the sequence that I tried right now is created. And if I do not want some of the web page that to monitor from the sequence, I can just go ahead and delete it. Or if I wanted to remove this, if it is too much, say it detected like around 20-30 pages, which is not required, so I can use this filter option. So I'm trying to eliminate the sales IQ from here. So add that here, and so you see the sales IQ has been removed now, and I can also manually delete the options that I don't require. So now I just go ahead and create URL sequence monitor. It says monitor added successfully. Now if I go to monitor section, and under the URL sequence monitor, I see that the ME has been added. It is just added, so for the data to we need to see the data. Maybe probably takes a couple of minutes time. So let me go ahead and show you the already created one for Zoho. It has the data available. So you see here it has the list that we have created, the URL sequence. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and it monitors the availability of each of these pages, the response time, the page size in bytes, and we can monitor the total response time of all these pages, and average response time of all these pages, current response time of all these pages, the response time split up based on a DNS time, connection time, first byte and last byte time. So it is like any other individual URL that you're monitoring, but now we know what is the sequence. We are monitoring the multiple web pages in one section, that is the URL sequence monitoring. And you wanted to configure an alarm for any of your connection time, DNS time, first byte time, you can just go ahead and associate the threshold profile so that you are notified when a problem is detected in Applications Manager for these URL sequence. I hope you understand the URL sequence better, and if you have any questions, feel free to post it in the webinar chat panel, and a panelist team can answer your questions. Now we will talk about measuring customer experience through session replays. So how to understand how the application is behaving for the end user. So we can record and play the web transactions, how an user will react when he visits a website, how the application behaves for him. So what are the actions the user will do? What are the most actions the user will do when he tries to create an account? So what is the information that he's typing on the keyboard and all those stuffs, we can monitor that. And if you wanted to monitor the web page performance from multiple locations, you have to do one thing. You have to ensure that you download the end user monitoring agent on multiple location, on the specific location. And then the only thing that you need to do is connect that agent to applications manager, and then you record the web transactions that we saw right now for the URL sequence. So once that is done, you can start monitoring the web page, how it is performing for you in multiple locations. And also you can identify the components that slow down your web page. Components meaning you wanted to monitor what is the CSS content and what is the size of the CSS code used in that web page, what is the size of the JavaScript used in that web page, and I want that to be monitored if, for example, if any high quality image is used which is causing the slowness for that web page, I can understand the split up with the response time so that I can go ahead and troubleshoot that problem, or I can report this to our DevOps team to fine tune that code or remove the high quality images from the web page to improve the performance. And the first thing, in order to record this sequence, record the actions, you need to understand how the end user will react when he visits your website from any of your branch. So if it is, maybe it is a CRM application, or maybe it is a shopping site. So when he visits the page, what is he trying to do? So you have to mimic that action and record that web transaction using the real browser monitoring. So once that is done, we can record and play back that session for every 5 minutes or 10 minutes to understand how the application will behave for the respective user in different locations. And not only that, you can also monitor the various services, how it is working in different locations like DNS, mail server, LDAP server as well. But our focus will be on real browser monitoring today, and then optimizing the front-end web and web content components. As I said, this will give you the exact screenshot of the page that the user is on, and what is the resources being used in those pages like CSS, HTML, and what is the size of those CSS or script contents. And using this, you can have a clear understanding on the page. So what is the response time? If some specific resource is taking too much of response time, you can see this report and fine tune the content accordingly. So let me show how you can create a real browser monitor in Applications Manager. So end user monitoring is what we are talking about. So all you need to do is, first thing, you need to download the end user monitoring agent. So if you go to end user monitoring and scroll down, you have all the help card available, providing a lot of information and definitions. So you just click on the download EUM agent. I'm not going to show you how you can install this. So it's straightforward. You just navigate to this page and download the package that you want and go ahead and install this. So once let's assume that you have installed the agent and it runs on the 9999 port. So when you access it, and you just need to connect that with Applications Manager server. So whether you install this agent in Australia or in Dubai or in Canada, to understand how your application is behaving in these locations. So once you have done that, you need to make sure that you connect that with Applications Manager. So you provide the host name, the port number, the username, the password, and the protocol it used. Once you provide that and save it, you enable the connection with end user monitoring and Applications Manager. And once that is done, you can simply use the web transaction recorder. So we saw that how to create a sequence before. Now we are going to see how to create the real browser monitoring for it. So in my case, it is localhost. In case if you have installed this web transaction recorder in any other tool, you just need to make sure that you provide the proper host name of the Applications Manager. So now let me log in. Okay, once this is done, I have to click on create real browser monitor. So once I do this, let me go to Amazon.com. Let's assume that I wanted to monitor this website and I wanted to create an account. So I create an account. Whenever a user visits my web page and he creates an account, he provides the username, the email address, and the password. And he types the password. And when he click on create Amazon account, I don't want him to face any problem during this process. So I go ahead and record this sequence. And I don't want to have a URL sequence monitor for this, so I uncheck that. And you see what are the actions that I did is being recorded here. First, I opened Amazon.com site, and it is here. And then I clicked on creating an account. So it is listed here. Then I provided the customer name, then I provided the email address, then I provided various inputs like password, and then finally I clicked on the submit. So I wanted to ensure that, so for each and every action, it records the time taken to respond. So everything is recorded, the keyboard action is recorded, the mouse over action is recorded. So everything is recorded. Now when I go ahead and create this monitor, it will get added in my applications manager in user monitoring. You see here, AMZ is the one that I have added. And when I go down, you can see that, okay, it might take some time to provide the data. So I'll show you another example here, which I have already created. So I go to locations. Okay, I think I'm on the wrong demo. Let me go to end user monitoring here and look for APM website. I'm sorry, I don't have the data here as well. Okay, let me give me a quick minute. I'll see if I have something here in the demo instance. Okay, let me check if I have for RBM Zoho. So I scroll down and check for this RBM Zoho, and I scroll down. Yeah, I have the data here for this particular real browser monitoring transaction. You see the average payload time, the transaction time, and the payload time for each of the steps involved in the recording. And so this is the most important page that we're going to talk about. So it has the screenshot of the web page that you're trying to record, and it has the web components like CSS, the script, HTML. So you can understand what is the size of all these components used and what is the response time for it. And if you feel that the resources used in those pages are taking too much of response time, then you can send this report to your DevOps engineer to fine tune this web page code so that you can improve the performance of the web page. So this is how the real browser monitoring helps you fine tune your web page for faster response. So with that, we'll move on to the last section of the training. So detecting unauthorized changes via website content monitoring. So here we're going to talk about any content changes that's happening in your web page. So any changes that goes into your web page, like any text change or any script change, any images getting changed in your website content, any anchor defacement or iframe or link defacement, you want that to be notified. Yes, you can monitor that in Applications Manager. So some of the websites like banking sites, you do not want that the specific content on specific pages need to be modified, then you can use this, and you can also use an option to override the original content using Applications Manager. I'll show that for you. You go to monitor section and click on website content monitor. That is going to list all the pages that I'm monitoring, and so it gives me the availability and the pages that I'm monitoring. What is the defacement stat? What is the defacement text percent? What is the page size, and so on. Website content monitoring, and I'm just trying to show you the defacement data. So I see that there is a defacement in the text. So something is changed in this text for Manage Engine product. So I wanted to understand what is the original content and what is the changed content, what is the modified content. If I click on other elements defaced, so it gives me the original content of that particular page and what is the modified content. So with that, I can understand if it is a valid change, I can go ahead and ignore that, or if it is a invalid change, I can just revert that to original content. And let me show you how you can create a new monitor for web page content monitoring. Just click on Add New Monitor and click on Website Content Monitor. You just provide the monitor name. Say I wanted to monitor the ManageEngine.com web page. I think you can add only a maximum of 10 web pages. So I'll add some 6 for this example. So I missed to inform you about this option, auto overwrite the defaced content. So in case if you want the original content to be stayed there, if any change is detected and you do not want to allow that, you can just replace or overwrite the original content for the defaced content for image or text or whatever. So now the monitor added successfully. So it's very simple. So it lists all the web pages that I have added right now. So if any text or script defacement is detected, it will show that here. And when I click on that link, I can understand what is the defaced content and what is the original content, what is the defaced content, and I can go ahead and take a call on uploading that. All right, with that, we are coming to the end of this session, and I'll do a quick recap on what we discussed today. We discussed about optimizing the individual URL, how to monitor the availability, response time, page size for individual URL, and then we extend that and to monitor the URL sequence to understand to track the order of the web pages visited by a user. And then we also discussed about how the application behavior is for the end user by real user monitoring. We can record and play back the session to mimic the user so that we know how the application is behaving for the end user. And then also we discussed about the website, the web page component like CSS and HTML and JavaScript, and what is the size of that, and if it is taking too long to respond, how can we fine tune that to improve the speed. And finally, we discussed about detecting unauthorized changes in the website content. For any defacements with text, image, or script, we can monitor that.